Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Joshua Poniatowski, and with me, Alex Taylor. What is going on, dude?
Glad to be back.
Yes, we are officially back. We ended up missing last week, and I want to apologize. It's on me. As you know, I was sick before. It was the gift that just kept on giving. My wife, Sam, got sick. We're also renovating our bathroom, by the way, so I just didn't have the energy or wherewithal to have an episode. Alex gave me the week off, so thanks, Alex. I appreciate it.
It's just a shame. It's a shame because I was definitely 100% going to tell everyone, start Cam Ward, start Wendell Robinson, start Hunter Henry. These are all, I had them all written down last week. Those are my key notes, and now they're just in the abyss. Nobody knows about it. So shame.
It is a shame. All those amazing takes. And since we're on spicy takes, we might as well start with a spicy take. So me and Alex are going to pick a guy that maybe isn't super favored in week 13, a spicy take of somebody that we like as a smash start. So Alex, who's your dude?
Let's go with the rookie Harold Fannin Jr., tight end for the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
What, did I steal yours, or you're just so shocked?
You absolutely just stole mine. So we were like, all right, let's come up with a spicy guy that we like. Zero plan. We were going out there. And Harold Fannin was going to be the guy that I was going to choose.
He had, Shedeur Sanders only had 11 completions, and he had 4 of them with 6 targets for 40 yards and a score. A young rookie in his second start is going to be one to just pepper that tight end. Playing San Fran, who have given up the 11th most points of tight end position. So good matchup, good chemistry, early chemistry, good situation, and I like him for a smash start. And now Josh is screwed.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a smash guy because I was like, all right, Fannin's the dude I like, especially with San Fran. They haven't been playing well against tight end position. I think they're like top 10 in the league, giving up points to tight ends. It was just a good smash. All right, so let me look at the games real quick as we're doing this and some time. All right, I got one that nobody will see coming. I am starting Christian McCaffrey against the Browns rushing defense. No, I'm kidding. All right, here we go. Adonai Mitchell for the Jets.
Oh, I thought it was Adonai. I thought it was Adonai.
Adonai. We don't even know his official first name, but I honestly, watch him play, he is an elite separator, an elite talent.
Yeah,
like, he's on the field.
Hands.
Yes, he just can't catch the ball. And I do not believe that an NFL wide receiver is just incapable of catching the ball. I'm gonna go with him as a spicy
Tyrod Taylor now.
You
don't got to deal with Justin Fields anymore.
Yes. I mean, maybe. Okay. I mean, after last game, you never know.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I'm gonna go with that. Even though Atlanta's been playing okay, their team's real beat up. I'm gonna go with that spicy start as a flex-worthy candidate that has the potential to pop off. Big one.
Any Jets player is always gonna be a sneaky start, or you don't feel good about it start. So it's spicy.
And don't forget jersey giveaway. We're giving away a JSN autographed jersey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and you're entered to win that at the end of the season. JSN, again, another amazing pop-off game, just doing it.
He might break Cooper Kupp's stats from a couple years ago, or even Calvin Johnson's most receiving yards. Who knows? He's going insane.
He's playing lights out. And 2 weeks ago, prior to the bye week, I suggested to potentially trade Jonathan Taylor. And everybody gave me a hard time. I got some messages that were like, you're a psycho, you're crazy, man. Even you, Alex, were like, get out of here.
I mean, that is bold. It is bold.
I would just like to note that through 2 weeks, he has scored 8.6 fantasy points.
Okay.
I would just like
There's
a
buy in there, but okay.
This might be paying off right now. I'm going to keep track of this. See, at the end of the year, I don't think he's going to finish as the fantasy one asset. We'll see, but that was my logic there. So.
In that stretch or total on the year?
No. No, in that stretch, that window.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, he still might finish, top 5 on the year, but, in the window from, prior to bye week through the end of the year.
Week 11 through
17.
Through 17. Okay.
Yeah, through 17. Yeah, we'll watch 18. So
I can't wait
we'll
for him
see.
to have a couple back.
Oh, he's going to.
three touchdown
He's still
games.
elite. He's still elite. He's still going to put up 30 or something every once in a while. But
I mean,
we might see more of these stinkers, right? I mean, he had one under 10 points.
Yeah, you're feeling good about it now because he just had 8 or whatever, and Gibbs just put up like 45 or whatever. Depending on what your scoring is, possibly. Yeah, I would say depending on the scoring. It was absolutely bonkers. So you're feeling good now. You got a nice head start early.
I mean, and Gibbs is my running back 1. God, it feels so good. All right. Well, jumping into the data dump segment, this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but 4 teams are on bye week in week 14. Don't get caught sleeping this late into the playoffs, especially if you have QBs like Dart, May, Purdy. All these guys are going to be on bye, and some of you might be starting them. I know I'm starting Dart and May in a couple of my leagues, so I'm going to have to plan accordingly. Kenneth Walker, he saw
starting Jaxon Dart.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't last week, obviously, because he was injured. But yeah, he's my QB1 in one of our leagues.
That's bold. Just an injured guy.
Yeah, no. I was just that confident in my team.
Oh, okay.
Kenneth Walker saw 64% of snap share, which was the highest the entire season. Charbonnet did end up snaking a touchdown at the goal line. Classic Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
But it was optimistic just seeing Kenneth Walker getting more reps, and maybe he does take away that 60 to 70% share. So
no, this is how they get you. Yeah, they give him 15 opportunities. You're feeling good, and then they're gonna pull the rug out from you next week. So I'm not falling for it again. I'm over this.
I forget the data, but if you combine both of their fantasy points together, they're top 5 running back on the year or something like that. Kayshon Boutte returned from injury for the Patriots. This doesn't sound significant, but because of this, Stefon Diggs went back to his typical snap share where he only played in 3 wide receiver sets or 11 personnel sets. And this is important because this reduced his snap share and route participation by about 25-ish% from week 11 to week 12. The literal only thing holding Diggs back from wide receiver 1 consistent fantasy number is his usage. So if Boutte is healthy, he's just going to be used in 11 personnel sets. It's just unfortunate he's still wide receiver 2 range just based off of usage. And
yeah, I mean, only
bust week.
2 catches for 20 yards, pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's also like Drake May just kind of spreads the ball around a lot in general. I mean, Hunter Henry just kind of was like the lucky recipient this week. Just popped off for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, they were playing Cincy, right? That's who they were playing this week. Yeah, I mean, they're giving up the number 1 points to tight ends. That's why you knew Hunter Henry was on your smash start list from last week. That's why you're doing it.
I was gonna call it.
Davante Adams has had 14 targets within the 5-yard line, which is number 1 in the NFL and doubled to the second closest player, including tight ends. And of those 14 targets, he has 8 receptions for 8 touchdowns. He's a monster.
It's automatic, and it's not even like, some teams get down in there, maybe they get that first and goal from like the 2. They're going to do like a run fade. No, it's like first down fade to Davante every time. It is glorious.
It's crazy. And if you're a Kyron owner, you got to be watching it like,
God, yeah.
I was looking at the red zone usage for Kyron, though, and based on this time last year, it wasn't terribly off within the 5-yard line. It was maybe 4 or 5, so he hasn't seen a whole lot of regression, even with Davante there. But still, 4 or 5 snaps could be 2 touchdowns, So
that's something we really didn't think about, like, going into the season. Like, Davante's red zone usage just, like, leeching off of FKW3, so I don't know.
Yeah. Kyle Monangai, your boy, played 55% of the snaps to DeAndre Swift's 45%, and he outcarried him 12-8. Swift still had a strong hold on 3rd down, 2-minute drill work. Honestly, this looks like a split backfield, but maybe Monangai grows to like a 60-40 split. If that happens, maybe he's a running back 2, kind of back end, regardless, flex type of situation. So
yeah, I mean, it's rough. Yeah. And then they got Philly, Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, like,
tough
rough end of the year.
Yeah.
Murky backfield situation. I'm not feeling great about either of them.
Christian Watson saw a 40% first read target share this past week. This has grown every single week since he returned from injury. Only thing to be cautioned about is it's Green Bay. Jaden Reed should be coming back. Wicks has been banged up. Golden's been banged up. They're all starting to get healthier, which means probably reduced share. But Watson has kind of emerged as somewhat of, a focus target.
Yeah, I mean, but still, he had 85 yards in week 8, but he hasn't gotten higher than 58 yards since then. So I don't know. Yeah. I'm still not really invested in very much
Not
in
excited
Green Bay
about it.
Packers offense.
Yeah, Green Bay is tough situation there. T. Higgins ended up leaving with a concussion and
boy.
probably will be out. Yep. Since he has a short week, they're playing on Thanksgiving. Mike Gesicki saw 27% first read targets. He ran 72% of his routes out of the slot and 20% out wide. He operated literally like a wide receiver and didn't play many inline tight end snaps. Everybody's going to be talking about Andrei Iosivas. I know I'm going to say it right.
Yeah, that one is rough.
Yeah, they're going to be talking about his usage, though. But Gesicki in the past has been the one to benefit from T or Chase being sidelined. I think he's a streamable tight end, like a top 10 tight end, and maybe even a flex consideration. We expect a shootout against the Ravens, who's number 6 in the NFL in points in the slot to wide receivers this year. So maybe the Gesicki should have been my smash sneaky start. I forgot I was going to talk about him.
And possibly Joe Burrow coming back this week. That'll be exciting. Thanksgiving game against the Ravens. That could be juicy. All right, switching over our big talking points. Josh, about 2 weeks ago, you said that you thought Treveyon Henderson's dream was dead due to his usage. Then just every running back on that team just started to die at the same time. Everyone was injured. Everyone was out. Henderson took advantage of that with back-to-back smash weeks. What do you make of the situation moving forward?
Yes, that was a solid L on my part. Literally, as I said it, everybody broke a leg, and it was like, oh, he's the only one in the backfield, and we got soft run defense.
Yeah.
Well, this was the first week we saw Rhamondre and Jennings back from injury. Henderson ended up seeing 64% of the snaps, 70% of the routes run, and 72% of the rushing opportunities. At this point, it appears Henderson has taken over the backfield. They have a very favorable running back schedule moving forward.
Yeah.
However, I want to see at least one more game play out to feel good about him being the solidified, just running back one in that offense. I'll admit defeat at that point. The reason being is Rhamondre was fresh off an injury. He just got back. They could have capped his usage due to that. And I would like to note that New England had 4 goal line snaps. 2 of them went to Rhamondre, 1 went to Jennings, and 1 went to Henderson. I think week 13 will tell us what we need to know. But if we see Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet type of situation, it honestly could leave fantasy managers with like a low floor play every week or a boom ceiling play because he has a breakaway 40-yard run if that usage ends up sticking where he doesn't get many goal line opportunities. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, juicy one against the Giants this week, but then they are one of those late week 14 buys we were talking about. So if it looks kind of murky this week, then you're in a bye, then all of a sudden your week 15, which is possibly first round of the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah,
you're going to feel like
risky biz.
Real risky, So we got to see. It'll be we got to hold on to the good vibes. We got good vibes this week. You just got to ride it out for 2 weeks. Switching over to really terrible vibes. The Raiders might have the worst O-line ever assembled. Letting Gino get sacked 10 times this week was wild. Listen, I know Gino holds the ball for a long time, but 10 sacks in an NFL game is nuts. They decided that Chip Kelly was the problem, so they fired him. My dude got paid $6 million for 9 months of work. The greatest job in sports is being a coordinator at a very high level. You get all that money, but most of the general population does not even know who you are or if you suck at your job. They don't know what's going on. Maybe the head coach, maybe, but not the coordinators. But now that he's been fired, Josh, what do you think happens to this Raiders offense?
First off, Myles Garrett is a beast. I think he had 5 sacks by himself in that game.
Wow.
He is got to be a defensive player of the year if he continues to operate at that high level.
Absolutely.
Just a monster. I give the O-line a little bit of break, but still not very good. But Pete Carroll, he just actually announced, I want to say it was about an hour or 2 ago, that Greg Olsen, not to be confused, 3-time Pro Bowler tight end Greg Olsen, who is the quarterback's coach right now, just got promoted to be the OC. Greg Olsen coached for the Raiders, Jags, and your Bucks. Now, I did a deep dive into the coaching history. 2 things really jumped out at me as I was going through his players, how many times he ran the ball, what type of offense, his personnel, those types of things. But key takeaway is Olsen, he wants to run the ball. He wants to control the game. This means Genty should see plenty of work on the ground. Honestly, that doesn't do much, though, because he doesn't get his running backs involved in the receiving game very much. So that might hurt him a little bit. Now, we know the Raiders are terrible, like you just said. They are not favored until week 17. But they're probably going to be playing from behind. And what I'm about to tell you is all about Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is going to feast.
There we go.
I am so bullish on this. He's not going to feast just because of a good game script, but it's because Olsen history with tight end ones. So from 2009 to 2011, when he led the Bucs offense, you might know this guy, tight end Kellen Winslow, was considered top leading weapons for Tampa Bay during that time. I think he had the number 2 receiving yards, number 2 receptions, and right behind Mike Williams, I think maybe was at that kind of window. But he was a top receiving option, tight end 1 on the team. Then from 2019 to 2021, he led the Raiders offense. Number 1 on the receiving threat was Darren Waller. I went through and I was like, statistically, what did these two guys put up? On average, 5 receptions a game, 8 targets, and 60 yards was the average between these two players in a game. I'm going to be honest. I love Trey McBride. He's my boy, and it's going to be hard to say. But if Olsen was calling plays in week 1, I might have ranked Bowers as my tight end 1. That's how bullish I am on this change for Bowers. That's how bullish I am. Baby.
So Brock got a decent game even with the 10 sacks. Nothing crazy, but considering how bad they were doing.
Yes. And, the strength of schedule is terrible for them, but talent, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, that always rises. And if he's going to get even more targets now and, the Michael Mayer experiment is over, then, I'm all about it. All right. So talking about somebody that we might be panicking on, is it time, Alex, to panic on Saquon Barkley? He has scored 1 touchdown on the ground in the past 7 weeks and has averaged 63 yards. What are you feeling about his upcoming strength of schedule? Are you panicking? What are you doing with Saquon?
I don't think you can ever really panic with Saquon. You just got to kind of ride it out. But, obviously losing offensive coordinator Kellen Moore to the Saints gig has proven to be a massive hit to this Eagles team. They just do not have it this year on offense. Saquon's usage is still massive. He's averaging over 20 opportunities per game. Between now and championship week, they get Miami, they get Washington, they get Buffalo. Those are all in the top 6 rushing yards given up per game.
Yeah.
Unless you just hit gold this year and your team is just so deep, I do not see you having 2 to 3 quality running backs better than Saquon. So I think you just got to ride it out.
Okay. Yeah, and he's been more involved, I think, in the passing game work, which you've talked about with that Kellen Moore. So
sure.
I feel like that has helped him a great deal because of his inefficiency on the ground.
This last week was his best receiving game. He had 8 targets for 7 catches, 52 yards. Their targets and receptions were season highs. The yards wasn't, but still you were happy to see it. Talking about passing work, maybe bad passing work, J.J. McCarthy has a 57.9 QB rating so far this season, 54% completion percentage, under 160 yards a game passing, 6 passing touchdowns to 10 interceptions. To say he is bad is an understatement. Josh, you were hyping up these Viking players a couple weeks ago as buy candidates. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, thanks for bringing up all my bad takes. What are the good ones? I might have to take a huge L on this, and it might ruin my fantasy championship odds because I went out and invested in Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones in one of my leagues. And I hate to say this, but J.J. McCarthy is terrible. They're in a terrible situation as a team. They have 0 options as a backup quarterback. I really don't have any logical takes or data points for this one. He's just been bad. And honestly, I just pray McCarthy figures it out. The strength of schedule, it just gets easier for him outside of the Seahawks game next week. But as a logical person, I may feel a little cooked at this point. I'm hoping that they figure something out and they could sprinkle some of that magic QB dust that they have had in Minnesota to get McCarthy some type of starts.
He might not even be able to play this week. What about if Max Brosmer comes in, the 24-year-old rookie out of Minnesota? Any chance? I
would love for him to light it up. Let this dude, please. Please, if he lights it up, they take their first round pick and he becomes a bust and, they let this other rookie ride it out and please, just anything. They need anything to help Justin Jefferson and that offense.
They're embarrassing themselves out there.
It's so bad. He is so bad. Fun fact, Justin Jefferson has 795 yards, 60 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. Wan'Dale Robinson has 794 yards, 66 receptions, and 3 touchdowns. So
what everyone called preseason. Everyone knew that would happen.
yeah,
they'd link up.
over JJ, easy.
All right,
so,
Brosmer, take us to the promised land, please. All the JJ owners need you. We'll talk about other things we missed, or at least what I missed. We'll definitely do a what do we miss episode at the end of the year. But one thing I definitely know I'll want to talk about is not worrying if a seasoned veteran QB misses some or even all of training camp. I mean, looking back, it's kind of silly how much we stress about Matt Stafford and his back just not being there for all of training camp. We're freaking out or pushing Puka down. But now it looks like he just, set the clock back and is on track for 46 passing touchdowns, 4,300 yards. Josh, we've talked about the wide receiver room a couple times before, but what do you make of this Rams offense moving forward?
Yes, this might sound a bit shocking, but I believe that there is a new wide receiver 1 in town for the Rams, and it's not Puka Nacua, okay? As you know, McVay runs 11 personnel set or 3 wide receiver sets at one of the highest rates in the entire NFL for years. Last year, he ran those 11 personnel set 82% of the time. But recently, we have seen an adjustment in his play calling because Davante Adams. And that's what great play callers do. They take their weapons and they said, let me figure something out to make our offense the best that it can be. So listen to this. McVay has run 13 personnel set at 17% rate this year, which is number 1 in the NFL. This is a 1 wide receiver set.
I was going to say, let people know.
Yep, 1 wide receiver set on the field, which that person is Davante Adams. And of the 2,000 plays that McVay called in 2023 and 2024, McVay ran 4 plays.
A year, right?
Yep, 4. It was over that, but this is for dramatic effect.
No, I didn't know how many plays were collectively in a season. It's kind of an interesting stat.
But he ran 4 plays out of 13 personnel sets in 2 years from 2023 to 2024.
And now
this
he's
year,
he's
70%? Leading it 17% and leading the NFL in 13 personnel. Because of this drastic change in play calling, Puka has seen 10% less routes run compared to Davante Adams over the past 4 weeks. Puka, still an absolute stud, but honestly, in half PPR scoring, Davante Adams might be worth more because he's on the field more and because of that red zone usage that we talked about is best in the NFL. So I just love crazy take, but
I love that McVay doesn't get cute. He's like, I know what players are good, and I'm just going to give them the ball a lot.
It's great. It's great for fantasy.
Don't get cheeky.
Yes,
don't get cheeky.
He gives his studs play opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, talking about his stud at the beginning of the season, Emeka Egbuka, he's been held to under 10 PPR points in 5 of his last 6 games. And now, Baker Mayfield might be out potentially for weeks with an AC joint injury. I haven't received any updates yet, but I know they're doing an MRI.
It's a mild sprain. I just saw it a little while ago, but right before we jumped on. So still don't know. Still questionable.
Yeah. But prior to this injury, honestly, Baker hasn't really been playing well either. I hate to say that, but he, I'm sure there was some type of injury that happened earlier in the year that maybe has been hindering him. But either way, how are you viewing Egbuka, Bucky, anyone else in this offense moving forward if Baker ends up missing time or he just doesn't get back to cooking anymore, and doing his thing?
Yeah, I'm going to rant for a little bit. The walls are just crashing in Tampa. I mean, if Baker misses time, we are just absolutely dead to rights. I know Bridgewater kind of got thrown into that game, didn't get to mentally prepare for the action, but he looked rough. Throwback, he is the reason we lost Jalen McMillan to a broken neck when we threw a hospital ball in preseason. I'm still a little salty about that. Honestly, I'd probably just be looking to avoid all Bucs players next week if Teddy is under center. Okay. I mean, our new offensive coordinator, Josh Grizzard, has shown to be a pretty below average play caller. All he knows how to do, run up the middle twice, and then throw a screen on 3rd down. DBs have been jumping our screen routes every week because they know we're so predictable and boring. That's a whole nother thing. Bucky's supposed to be back, but most likely he's going to be on pitch count. I mean, the success of what Sean Tucker's been doing, you want to get him some touches. Plus, you don't want to, push Bucky too hard. So chances are you're not really going to have confidence in either of them, at least this week. Godwin is back. In theory, it helps Emeka a little bit. I mean, but honestly, not as much as you'd probably think it was, because they kind of play the same roles. They're both kind of that zone-beating possession receiver. What's been hurting Emeka is that we're lacking in that complementary deep ball receiver, and that's what made Mike Evans and Godwin were such an elite duo, because they did different things. So no matter what the defense was playing against us, we had the counter. If they were in man, we hit them with Godwin. If they're in zone, we go deep with the Evans. But now, Godwin and Emeka, it's kind of like two of the same people. So what's happening is all the defense are playing a lot of man coverage against the Bucs, and just kind of like bracketing Emeka. I mean, put a man on him with a safety over top, not giving him any space to work with. So yeah, it's been rough. Godwin back doesn't really help that much. So I don't know. To me, no Baker probably equals no Bucs.
Okay. Dang, that's got to be hard for you to say.
Sure. No, it's terrible, Josh. It's terrible. Last night was brutal. That was a terrible game. I mean, it was like 5 minutes in, and we're down like 28-0. The worst part is, because I'm a pretty avid hater on Todd Bowles, and I feel like it's gonna be like the worst case scenario where we're gonna crash and burn, possibly not win the division, make the playoffs, because I mean the Panthers are right there on our tails.
Really? You're worried about that? That's crazy.
We're tied. We have the same record right now.
I know.
And possibly, if we're not, if Baker's out a couple weeks, I mean that's rough. We're toast. But the problem is, then Bulls can just use that as an excuse of why he shouldn't be fired. I was Baker for a couple weeks.
Around.
It was we would have been all right if we had him, which probably would be, but I still don't like the guy. Moving on. Josh, there's been a player we've talked about a couple of times over the last month or so, but only in the context of what the player's kind of done for all the other players around him. We haven't really talked about him individually as a fantasy asset, and I think that is time to kind of talk about him. Okay. Conveniently enough, he is playing my Bucs this week. That is quarterback Jacoby Brissett. Not only did my man go out and set an NFL record with 47 completions last week, but he has just been on an absolute heater since taking on the starting job in week 6. In fact, over that span, he is tied for 4th among QBs in fantasy points per game at 21.4. That's more than Drake May. That's more than Patrick Mahomes. That's more than Justin Herbert. He's got 2 passing touchdowns in 5 of the 6. He's also finished in the weekly top 12 quarterbacks every single week. The Cardinals' defense is Swiss cheese, giving up 25 points a game, letting Jacoby just feast in garbage time. Looking ahead, he's got my collapsing Bucs this week, possibly Bakerless too. We talked about that. Week 17, he also has the possibly championship week for you. He also has the juicy Bengals defense to play against. So, Josh, how are you valuing him? And obviously, Superflex, you're smash starting him, but even in like a 1 QB league, are you trusting him?
Leading up to this, sure, he's a guy that I was confident in, but right now he's not, especially in 1 QB league. I'm not too confident in his playoff schedule. I think he's a good streaming option based off matchup. Tampa Bay, obviously amazing. Cincinnati, freaking phenomenal. But outside that, he gets the Rams, he gets Houston, and he gets the Falcons. So in between that window. The Rams are allowing 14 points per game to opposing quarterbacks over the past 6 weeks, which is 26 out of 32 teams. Outside of Mac Jones' 3-touchdown performance, they have shut down almost every quarterback to either 1 touchdown or 0 touchdown games, including Sam Darnold and JSN combination. Houston is who they are playing in the first round of the playoffs. Houston hasn't allowed a quarterback 12 or higher finish since the start of the season. Yes, quarterback 12 or higher. They just held Josh Allen to 8 fantasy points. I don't care how much garbage time exists. The Houston offense burns clock. When they have the ball, they're slow. Their defense is arguably the best, if not the best, in the NFL at this point. So for that game, I'm looking elsewhere as well. And then the Falcons defense, one of the best until injuries started to hit. The entire team is falling apart, kind of like the Bucs in a way. Offensively and defensively. I think this is a game the Cardinals are favored in, like the only game, so maybe there isn't as much garbage time. I don't know. It just doesn't look great. Tampa Bay, for sure. Cincinnati, if you need them, I like that. But the other games in between, I'm just not super confident, especially in a 1 QB league. I'd also like to say, with the Michael Wilson emergence, once Marvin Harrison going insane. It really makes you wonder, like, how good is Marvin Harrison Jr. or how good is Michael Wilson?
Yeah.
But Michael Wilson is obviously cemented himself as a starter in that offense, right? Like he is a legit candidate. He's building a rapport with Jacoby. And when Marvin Harrison come back, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, and Trey McBride. And we've seen it all year where somebody, usually in the equation, does not get the targets or opportunities because there's just not enough to go around. This is, again, like a Trey McBride, or Marvin Harrison Jr. Who is going to be the odd man out? And is Trey McBride ever not going to feast one week because Wilson has emerged as that guy? I don't know. I hate to say it because I love McBride.
I'll just say, you know, I might not always be right. When I might not always be wrong, but sometimes I'm just early because this is a deep throwback. Michael Wilson was my deep wide receiver sleeper last year. It
was just 1 year.
Took him a year and a half. To get going, but there he is. I called it.
Never wrong, only early. Yes,
only
100%.
early.
Yeah. I just wanted to share that. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens with McBride. I think he's going to be fine, but you know, it's a worrisome part now that 3 people are feasting in that offense, even though Jacoby looks good, but they got some studly defenses coming up. All right. Well, that's all we got today, folks. If you like what you heard, give us a like and subscribe. If not, we just appreciate y'all hanging out. And as always, go steal a championship. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace.